Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is Sheikh Khalid Yassin talking to you from New York. The platform that we're on is Facebook Live. So if you want to be with us, you got to get to Facebook Live. And the name of our program today is SKYviews. So Sheikh Khalid Yassin's views. That's my spin, my perspective, my insight, my advice, my understanding to people who ask questions that are relevant to the experience of Islam and America, or people who are asking questions relevant to the environment of Islam in the 21st century. So that's what we're talking about. You know, there's a lot of different issues that are impacting the Muslim world and Muslims all over the world, and we pray for that. And we make dua for that, and we invest money and try to come to whoever we can their relief. We read about it, but our first responsibility is to our families and ourselves and to our society as Muslims living in America. And so that's what our discussion is going to be about today. Now, I might get it right and I might get it wrong, and you be the judge of that. But at the same token, we're not trying to be religiously correct. We're just trying to be straightforward. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kulu qawlan sadida. You know, we want to talk straight to issues that are relevant to our experience as Muslims in America. Now, the scholars and the students of knowledge, they have their own responsibility and their own perspectives, and there's plenty of that on YouTube. So I don't want to be refuting anybody, and I'm not hating on anybody, and I'm not going to be trying to, go that way. I'm talking from my perspective. The responsibility that I have to my grandchildren and to my great-grandchildren, to my mother who's 94 years old and a Muslim, I'm talking from that perspective. So anybody else who's coming from a different perspective, you just be tolerant, because today, that's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about Islam and America, or Islam and America here and now. So in the studio, I have my nephew, Sheikh Jamil. He has a legitimate question, or set of questions, and we're going to take that from him right now. So Sheikh Jamil, please ask your question if you don't mind.
My name is Jamil Spady. I'm 42 years old. I have a question to ask about what is your input on new Muslims in America, and how should they carry out the religion?
A very good question. Sheikh Jamil, he said that he's 42 years old, and so he and his wife, he's asking a question that are basically representative of their experience. They're the next generation down from myself. They're the same ages as my children. And so his question is, what is my advice for the Muslims of his generation who are also Americans? How do we put this Islam that we're practicing into perspective? How do we make our Islam relevant to the real issues and challenges that's facing the generation that we represent? So that's what I understood from his question, and those who are listening, you could have got something else, but let me try to answer that. First of all, Brother Jamil, thank you very much for the question. It's a very valid question, and thank you for trusting me to be able to respond to that question. First of all, to your generation, I would just say, first, keep it real. You understand that language. Keep it real. That means keep it relevant to what you're doing. Take Islam in its best shape and form, and from the best sources that you can get. It doesn't matter where people are from who can give you access to the Islamic sources. The Islamic books and the Islamic teachings and the Islamic practices. Since you've been Muslim at least 10, 15, 20 years, you basically know the practices. You just came from Hajj, so you understand how to implement some of those practices. and you understand the Islamic beliefs, and you have been fulfilling those beliefs. So I don't want to talk to you about that part. But as it comes to the implementation of Islam, we have to be very practical. For instance, I know that you work for the transportation department, and so when you're on your job, prayer comes up. When the time for prayer comes up, they don't have to facilitate your prayer. They have to honor your prayer, but they don't necessarily have to facilitate your prayer. So you need to build a good relationship with your employer and with your fellow employees, where they respect your integrity, and they also respect your consistency as a professional. And therefore, it helps them to appreciate your religious beliefs that come at certain times, whether it's Ramadan or prayer in the time of the day, when it comes to what you eat and parties or invitations that they might extend to you, and even for that matter, how you choose to dress or groom yourself. If you got good relationship with them, and you have consistency in your professional behavior, and that you're not imposing your religion on them, but you just letting them know that at certain times and places and situations, you have to behave a certain way towards a higher authority. Now, in a country like America, where a lot of people are Christians, they understand that, although everybody doesn't bring the religion to the job. Okay, and so we got to be able to implement Islam without bringing religion to the job. We got to also practice, keep our Islamic values while being tolerant with other people who don't share the same values. We have to implement our Islam without imposing on other people's time or safety or procedures. We have to, or environment. So when you're on your job, you can't just break out and start praying in the public. You can't just break out and pray at your desk. You know, you can't be just putting up no star and crescents, or putting the Quran on the top shelf or whatever, or you playing the Quran, or you put up some calligraphy somewhere, or you praying by the water cooler, or you in the place where the people go and eat their lunch, and you over in the corner, you know, you bowing down praying, you saying Allahu Akbar, and people don't even know what that means, except they heard that in some films. So we have to be discreet. The word also was discreet means use discretion, common sense. Secondly, we have to be not selfish, but selfless. And we got to use all the tools that Allah gave to us so we don't overimpose our religion. For instance, if you don't have to pray in the professional environment where you are, don't do that. But if they encourage you because of their respect for you, and they make a place for you, or they establish some kind of protocol inside the company or inside the business for you, you respect that, you honor that, you thank them for doing that, but you can't not expect it of them just because even they do it themselves as a religion. Islam is new in America. I don't mean new from a historical point of view. I mean new in its observation. New in its implementation and practice. Anything that's new, it takes time for people to grow accustomed to. It takes time for people to tolerate and digest. And so that's one of the challenges that you have. Putting your Islam and your Islamic beliefs and practices within the context of your job, your place of employment. Secondly, interacting with your neighbors. Obviously in the street where you live at, it's a very nice street, quiet street, and 4:30 in the morning, it might be inappropriate, to be going out on your porch and calling the adhan. I mean, although it's a sunnah of the Prophet to call the adhan out, and we understand about the jinns being moved back, and we understand about how the angels respond to the adhan, but we got to be thinking about the neighbors too. Now, if ain't nobody else in this area praying no Fajr prayer, and they don't know that, it might be inappropriate for you to be going out on your porch and calling the adhan in your neighborhood just because you think it's a sunnah. And if your neighbors live upstairs, it might be inappropriate for you to be calling the adhan in your house because maybe the people in your house hear that adhan, but maybe you waking up everybody upstairs who's not even Muslim. So that would not be appropriate. So we got to practice Islam within the context of what is appropriate for our neighborhood and also for our neighbors. And that when we call the adhan or we playing the Quran and maybe we playing a little bit too loud and people ask us what it is, we cannot get angry with them. We have to explain to them, well, you know, at nighttime we got, or in the morning time we pray and, you know, we apologize to keep the noise down. But this is why we do it. It's a benefit for you and a benefit for us. It's a safety for us and a safety for you, but we'll keep it down. In the same tone that I know you guys will keep it down when y'all watching the NBA playoffs, or y'all watching the Super Bowl, or y'all watching Formula One, or y'all watching some other crazy stuff that y'all might be watching. Y'all respect us and we respect you. And this is how the Islam has to be practiced. Now, one thing I would say to you is that we should take the knowledge from everybody that we can, that we believe has good knowledge. However, the implementation of that knowledge requires people who themselves understand the country, its language, its constitution, the protocols of its environment, its history, its social dynamics. Because if somebody is telling us how to practice Islam or implement Islam in the environment of America, and they don't have those qualifications I just mentioned, they don't understand Islamic, they don't understand American Constitution. They don't understand American history. They don't understand how the American government or its infrastructure, how it functions. They're not aware of American culture. You know, the urf, that means what is known to be American culture. I don't mean all the things that Americans do, but I mean generally what's known to be the attitude, the demeanor, the social principles of what is wrong and right and so forth. We need to understand that, because Islam as a faith and as a system must be, our challenge, must be practiced within the context of that environmental set of dynamics. This is not easy, but if you've been Muslim 20 years, you've already had to reconcile some of that. And we're learning every single day. So let me just summarize. One, you must practice Islam with moderation. Whatever inspiration you have, whatever instruction you have, you must practice it within moderation. Next, you must practice it within the context of the place of where you are, the time, the set of dynamics, so that you don't aggravate people. You don't disturb people, because the Prophet ﷺ, he never wanted to aggravate or disturb people just to fulfill something for himself. One day the Prophet ﷺ saw some people sitting outside on we call it like the sidewalks. Maybe they didn't have sidewalks, but they were sitting on the side of the road. And the Prophet ﷺ asked them, why are you sitting on the side of the road? They said, we just reminded each other of good things, and that's it. We're just sitting together and talking about some good things. He said, good. If that's what you're doing, you continue to do that. But the road also have its haqq. And part of the haqq of the road is that lower your gaze. You know, so you don't be standing all up on people and looking where you ain't supposed to be looking at. Secondly, don't be sitting in the middle of the road, because then you aggravating people who's walking and people who's riding or whatever the case might be. So you got to respect the road. Give the road its rights. That means that in every time, in every place, there is also an environmental haqq. There's some principles that we as Muslims, we need to observe. And so we talked about on the job, we talked about with your neighbor, we talked about in the marketplace, we talked about generally in the society itself, how Muslims have the mandate from Allah and from the Prophet ﷺ to implement their values in their homes, in themselves, and in the society where they are, but to do it in a very wise and relevant way. So that was one part. The second part has to do with issues that we take as mandates. That is, somebody gives us a fatwa, a Islamic ruling, or somebody gives us a hukam, that is a Islamic verdict on some issue. And that hukam, or that verdict, or that fatwa that was given to us was basically just taken out of a book and given to us to apply or to observe here in America. Well, if you've got no other reference, then that fatwa is a good reference. It gives you the parameters. But what you need a little bit more than a fatwa or a hukam or something out of the Islamic Sharia jurisprudence cookbook is you need someone who is familiar, someone who is sensitive, somebody who is aware, and somebody who is educated about the Constitution, about the society, its rules and its etiquettes, about the history, about the language, and about the urf. That means what is known to be good and what is known to be bad, the general rules of the society. And then with that awareness, okay, and that level of education, then you see the fatwa or the hukam, it takes a different application, because when the doctor sends you to the pharmacy or me, he sends us with a prescription. It's the duty of the pharmacist to fill that prescription and put something on the side to instruct me when to take it, how to take it, and to ask me if I'm taking any other medicines. That's the pharmacist's job. So the doctor has a job, the pharmacists have a job. Then we have a job to take the doctor's advice and to take the pharmacist's advice, and then to take that medicine as it was prescribed in the way it was prescribed. Those are 3 different levels of responsibility. When it comes to practicing Islam, it's similar to that also. The scholars have their responsibility. They're like the doctors. You know, students of knowledge, or the imams and the preachers and the teachers and the parents and all that, they like, you understand me, the pharmacists. They prepare it right on the bottle and explain all that to you. But you got to use your own common sense. Take the doctor's advice. Take what the pharmacist gave you the advice, and to do it on time and within that perspective. Then you, as the person who's taking the medicine, your job is to take it within the context of your own habits and what you know. They say eat after a meal every day. Maybe you only drank a cup of tea. Doesn't mean that you had to eat the same meal that he had. So we can see that the application of Islam can take different dynamics based upon who is actually delivering that to us with the qualifications that I just mentioned. And Allah, He knows best, inshallah. Thank you very much for being here. Now we're going to turn over to Daryl Brooks. Now Daryl Brooks is 17. And at 17, he has a different experience, and he's a new Muslim. So let me ask Daryl Brooks for his question today.
Hello, I'm Daryl Brooks. My question for you, Uncle Khalid, is how do young Muslims deal with some of the challenges that we go through?
Well, that's a good question. And I noticed that you said that you know that we go through. I appreciate that, because that means that you understand that even though I'm an OG, for those who don't know what OG is, it's like, old generation, old guy, old gangster, old guys and girls. It's like a respectful terminology that the young people use for the older generation. So as an OG, yeah, I know what you're going through. You may be going through it from a little different perspective, because you guys are interacting with a lot of machinery and technology. We wasn't dealing with a lot of machinery and technology. Most of what we were dealing with was just straight up interpersonal issues. But now you're not dealing with a lot of just interpersonal issues. You're dealing with the interpersonal issues as they coming across and through the medium of social media, technology, the television, the phone, the internet, your teachers at home, your textbooks, your peers, your own desires, your own ambitions, the rules of the society. These are the parameters by which you're going to have to work through to implement your Islamic values. Now, notice I said Islamic values. I didn't say the rules. Because, in school you got rules. But that's there to keep things in context, right? But the objective of the school is not just to implement rules. The objective of the school is to impart education. Is that correct? So the school's job to impart education, they got to have order. So if there's no order, how are you going to impart education? So if you got an unruly school, or kids is unruly and crazy, acting crazy and all that, they might spend more time going through metal detectors and implementing security and surveillance and putting people under control and what you call it, reprimanding people and putting them into contacts and sending them back home, and they might spend more time doing that because the school is not under proper discipline, right? But if the school or the institution is under proper discipline where they can impart education, that's really their objective. So here, you guys are Muslims, and the aim of Islam is to make you a better human being. That's number one. Now, if Islam don't make you feel better, if Islam doesn't make you feel better, if you don't feel better as a Muslim, either something's wrong with Islam or something's wrong with with your digestion or something. You know, so if you eat some good food and after that you throw up, or you eat some good food and you feel bad, there's either something that was inside your stomach already, or something wrong with that food or something like that there. It's not going to make you hate food, but you got to think about the food that you're ingesting, or maybe you ate too much or something like that. You understand? So now, as a young guy, 17 years old, trying to be Muslim, I mean, you got a whole lot of challenges. Now, let me take out the ones that's probably the more relevant. You know, in Islam, you know, we don't be chasing girls. You know, the brothers ain't supposed to be chasing the girls. We ain't supposed to be dogging the girls out. You know, and vice versa. The girls ain't supposed to be chasing no boys. And that's not supposed to be done. Now, the reality is that everything in the society is already set up on style. You know, so everybody's into style. And so the girlies is trying to be as stylish as they can. The boys is trying to be as stylish. Sometimes they get it wrong. You know, sometimes the girls got the earring in their ear and the boys got the earring in their ear, so something got wrong there. Okay, and you know, sometimes the girls is dressed, you know, something like men, and the men is dressed a little feminine like the women, and without making judgments and all that, something wrong there. Something's imbalanced there. But I'm just giving you illustrations of style. So then the same thing, style today, you understand me, is not like modesty. So before, women were modest, and it was kind of unusual for a woman to like uncover her leg, or to uncover, you know what I mean, some part of her chest, okay, or for her booty to be out, you know what I mean, or her, you know what I'm saying, breast to be like visible. You know, like 40 years ago, that was considered to be kind of like cheeky. That wasn't like supposed to be done in the public. That wasn't considered to be good taste. But nowadays, you know, if women is going someplace dressed like the women dress even in church, it's not like that anymore. So, you know, when you go to school, the girls is bumping. You know, that's what you guys call it. That, you know, everything is visible and jumping. You know what I'm saying? And the boys supposed to be lowering their gaze and all that there. But if you be looking down, maybe you might fall down over something. I understand. You got to be looking forward. You got to see everything that's out there, but you got to learn how to control yourself. You got to be in school for the purpose of school. That's what? To get that education. Now, all that other distractions is out there because of style and how people leave their homes and how the whole profile is set up to be everybody geeking everybody else, and, you know, everybody hitting everybody off with a little whatever, you know, little a text message or a chit chat or a little what's up, and you know, bing bang and Instagram and Snapchat, and y'all into that, all that kind of provocation, we call it. It's called provocation. We used to like whistle at girls, you know, we used to snap our fingers, we used to do a little stuff like that, but now you got Snapchat. Okay, you ain't got to ask no parents, no nothing, and even it disappear after, you know what I'm saying? I know the whole thing. After 1 hour, what you wasn't supposed to be looking at, what they wasn't supposed to be showing, it all disappears, so your mom and dad don't even know how that worked, and it disappeared, but y'all saw it, y'all captured the screenshot, so, you know, that's to let you know, I kind of like know how the stuff go. So now, what I'm saying, the challenges in front of you is different challenges than it was for your Sheikh, for Sheikh Jamil. You got a different set of challenges. You have to learn how to control this social media. You have to learn how to secure your education in school using a new set of tools. When we went to school, we were using a chalkboard and a pencil and some paper. Okay, the next generation, they took it to another level. And in your generation, they're not using no chalkboard no more. They're using, you know what I mean, an iPad, okay, or a tablet. Okay, you're accessing things through applications, and the world is open to you. You don't have to go on TV to find out what's going on around the world. You can find out on your phone. So a new set of challenges. One, you have to decipher through a lot of information. All information is not education. So you got to cipher through it and see what's beneficial for you. Number two, interpersonal relationships. Now, everything is on top of everything. Anybody who want to show anything, anybody want to reveal anything, anybody want to talk about anything, anybody want to respond to anything can do so, and they're completely free to do that, although they are still morally responsible. Anybody you want to get with, or anybody that want to get with you, there's all kinds of ways of setting up the date and setting up the place and setting yourself up for whatever it is that you're going to be doing that's good or bad, okay, using this technology. Everybody got GPS on their phone. If you don't, what kind of phone you got if you ain't got GPS on it? But even the people who got GPS on the phone, they ain't got no GPS inside their heart. You know, they ain't got common sense GPS inside their mind. They can't, they're not guided. They're not going towards the right places. They're not where they're supposed to be. They don't understand where they are in the society. They don't know where they are inside of the life, because the GPS on your phone is always working from a technical point of view. But when the GPS is inside the heart is not working, then sometimes you don't know where to go. So what Islam is for us, in the most simplest terminology, Islam is a GPS. Islam is a divine GPS that God gave to us through the Quran, through the behavior of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. He gave us a GPS by which to guide ourselves and navigate ourselves through the society. So read the Quran in whatever language you got to read it in, and understand the Quran in terms of values and principles, and not just a book. And listen to the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Read his life and see how he navigated through the life. Okay, and then you apply that. Then look at your mother, look at your uncle, look at your grandmother, look at your grandfather or your great uncle. And so since we're Muslims, take some of our experience for yourself. Although you're going to see the world a little bit differently than us, you can take our advice and our experience, because our advice and our experience, it came over a period of years that you didn't get there yet. So drink from there. At the same token, distinguish yourself. When you're in school with other people, some could be Muslims, some is non-Muslims, but you need to distinguish yourself. When other people is cursing, Daryl, he can't be cursing. When other people is acting, wilding out, you know, that animal act, the stuff that people be doing like animals with no principles and no morals. Daryl can't be acting like that because Daryl's a Muslim. Daryl chose to be a Muslim, and to be a Muslim, there's some rewards, but to get those rewards, there's some responsibility. And when it comes to making decisions, Daryl has to stop for a moment and think about what's going on before he makes decisions. My suggestion is that never make any major decision in a rush. Take your time, step back, take a deep breath, count to 10, all those words. Come back to your home where you're safe. This is your environment. Talk to your grandmother, talk to your grandfather, talk to yourself. Weigh the things before you make that decision. Secondly, don't always react, because there are reactions that cause other reactions. And sometimes you make a reaction that you can't get it back. You can never repair it. So you got to be careful about your reactions, because you're responsible even for those reactions, right? If somebody throws a cigarette out, on the side of the road, just flicks it out like that and keeps on driving up the road. Okay, first of all, that was an irresponsible act when they did that, right? Right, when they did that. So if it caught fire and it burned down, 1,000 acres of land and homes and all that there, even though you don't know about it, on a day of judgment, you're going to know about that cigarette you threw out with irresponsibility, and you're going to be more responsible for all the damage that it took. So as you walking through life, don't be throwing no lit cigarettes out. Understand what I'm saying? I'm just giving you a proverbial type of an answer. Those irresponsible acts of behavior, those irresponsible words that you threw out, they can act the same and destroy the same as those cigarettes that somebody threw out on the side of the road. So control your tongue. Control your eyes. Those are your eyes. Control your hands. Control your space. Because you're responsible for your space. You're responsible for your words. You're responsible for your eyes. You also got to be responsible for your desires. When your heart starts having some desire inside of it and moving your body towards a certain way, who's responsible for that? You're responsible for that. So what Islam does, slows you down. Islam gives you a reference. Islam gives you a set of values. Islam gives you a set of rules. Not that you got to do all of them all at one time, because Islam didn't come for you to be a perfect Muslim overnight, for you to have all the answers overnight. Islam didn't come like that. It comes gradual, just like age. You're not acting at 17 like you were acting at 2. You know what I'm saying? You will not be acting at 35 the way you're acting at 17. It's about development, and it's about growth and putting your Islamic values into practice in the best way that you can. And take each challenge as a step. You meet with one, you deal with that, you learn the lesson, you keep moving on. At the end of the day, Islam is not difficult. You got to pray 5 times a day as soon as you can get it. It's a habit. I know you open up your phone probably like 50 times a day. You listening to your phone, you looking at your phone, you holding on to it like it's your future wife, all that there. That took time. Okay, so Islam takes time. Okay, if somebody calling you 5 times a day, whether it's a parole officer calling you or a teacher calling you or your parents calling you, you got to respond to those calls, okay? Allah is calling you. He told you to pray 5 times a day. It's your job to fit into your schedule to get that prayer done. Whether you do that prayer inside the mosque or you do it with your uncle or you with it or inside your room, that's your job. If you don't do it, you don't get paid. I mean, it's just as simple as that. If you don't believe that there's no pay for the prayer, you don't need to pray. Because I believe there's pay. Now the pay is not like, Chase Manhattan, like somebody wrote a check. It's a different kind of pay. It's a different kind of security. Okay, it's a different kind of a value. Now if you don't believe that value is there, then don't pray. Okay, and when you realize it's there, then pray. Like the dentist said, just leave your teeth alone, they'll go away. If you don't believe your teeth need to be maintained, just leave them alone and they will just go away. If you don't think you need to pray, then ain't nobody need to be knocking on your door forcing you to pray. But when you want to pray, when you know there's a value to pray, there's a reason for you to pray, okay, that's just like I told you, listen, I'm giving out some money at 2 o'clock in the morning. Whoever's up, get the money, and whoever's asleep, they don't get no money. So who's going to be up? Everybody going to be up. They're going to get up at 1 o'clock to make sure they up. Because that's the motivation to get some money. So God said, you get up at a certain time to pray. God said, during the course of the day, stop and go pray. The prayer only take 5 minutes, 7 minutes. That's it. To wash and pray. Like 7 minutes, 10 minutes, max. So, man, for you to get benefits of all the life that God gave to you, for you to get all the benefits, that God gave you, including your parents and your environment and all the resources, God said, pray 5 times a day. Then God said, say there's none to be worshipped except Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. You already said that part. Say and believe that there's none to be worshipped except Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you already said that part. God told us to do that. That's why we're doing it, because God said do that. Then God said pay zakat. So you got to know what zakat is. Zakat is something that you got to pay from your wealth. If you ain't got no wealth, then you don't pay no zakat. And those who ain't got no wealth, they're the ones that receive zakat. It's no no-brainer. Zakat is paid from the wealthy, okay, so that people who's not wealthy, they get their share of things inside the society. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So zakat in the Muslim country or in the Muslim environment, zakat would cover health insurance. Zakat would cover housing insurance. For the people who is poor, they ain't got no housing, they ain't got no medical. The people who's poor, they ain't got no money, transportation, they ain't got no place for their whatever. So zakat in the Muslim society would cover that part of it. So we understand why we pay zakat. We want to be wealthy, so we pay zakat. Because if you're not wealthy, you don't pay no zakat. It's clear. So what we want to be? The people who receive zakat or the people that pay zakat? Obviously, we want to pay zakat. Why? Because the people that pay zakat is wealthy. And who don't want to be wealthy? So Islam has this rule. Say there's none to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, peace and blessing be upon him, and you already accepted that, right? Okay, next, Allah said pray 5 times a day. That means as much as you can, okay, as much as you can, is as consistent as you can, it's on you as an obligation. Why? Because you've already considered something to be responsible. Then God say, be wealthy, pay zakat. Okay, he wouldn't say pay zakat if the presumption wasn't that you was going to be wealthy. Okay, so pay zakat, that means a portion of your wealth, it got to be paid out, to the people, and it's paid to the government or to the ruler of the government so they can distribute it. Then God said, pray during, fast during the month of Ramadan. You got that. 30 days, Ramadan come every year, and from when the light comes to the sky before sunrise, and when the sun set, and that no eating, no drinking, no, if you're married, no intercourse with your wife, no eating, no drinking, but you can work and all that. And when the sun go down, now you can eat and resume back, whatever the case might be. When Ramadan's over, that rule is gone. Then God said, pray, go to Mecca once in your life. So when you get enough money saved up, Go to Mecca and pray, you know what I'm saying, at the house that Abraham built, the Kaaba. Go there, visit the city where the Prophet is go there where the city where the Prophet is buried. Just make a visit there and come back. That's called Hajj. So it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. This is all called the 5 pillars of Islam. You have already accepted that. Now, after accepting that, do the best you can with that. But at the same token, implement your Islamic values within the context of the society where you are and be a good Muslim, the best Muslim that you can be, but also be a good citizen, also be a good neighbor, and also be a good child and a youth to the adults that you have. Be a good person, you know, similar to your brothers and sisters. Okay, be the best you can be in school. All this had to do with being Muslim in America and some of the young challenges that young people go through. Now, you know, there's some pitfalls and some we call them what do you call that when people bury some explosives? What do you call that? When people bury explosives, huh?
Landmine.
Yeah, huh?
Landmine.
Landmines. Yeah. So Daryl, there's some landmines. It's just out there naturally in the society where we living at. I mean, we're in a free society, but guess what? A lot of landmines. So, you know, you got the drugs out there. You got the immoral behavior. You got the sexual orientations, okay, and perversions. You got, you know, all kinds of social diseases that are going on out here. You got misbehavior. You got crime. You got thuggism. You got gambling. You know, you got fighting and violence. You got a lot of confusion, what I call social landmines. Now, you as a young Muslim, you might be touched. You may be impacted by some of those landmines, but you're not consumed. You didn't make that by your choice. You get touched in moving through things. And Allah, He knows where you're born, and Allah knows what could affect you just because you were born there. But when it comes to being actively involved in crime or immoral behavior or perversion, okay, or violence or disrespect of your parents or subversion of the society or misbehaving towards your relatives or your neighbors, as a Muslim, we don't do that. And because we don't do that and we're generally guided away from that, in most cases, Muslims are good citizens. Muslims are good students. Muslims are good friends. Muslims are good to live next to because, you understand me, Muslims are respectful. And this is what it means to be a Muslim. If you are respectful, you are beneficial, you are competitive, you are resourceful, you are strong, you are focused. This is what it means to be a good Muslim. And so, of course, there are many challenges out here. But most of the cards is in your hands. And if we don't use the example of the cards, most of the tools are in your hand. That means you have the choice to make the right decision for yourself, make a good decision for your family, make a good decision for your future. And I hope that the two sides of these questions that I asked, that Allah will accept it. Inshallah, this is our dry run for SKYviews today. This is yours truly, Sheikh Khalid Yassine, speaking to you from New York. The platform is Facebook Live. Now, later on, you can get it off of YouTube, or you can get it off of WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and a lot of those platforms. But we're talking right now on Facebook Live. So go to my Facebook page, Sheikh Khalid Yassine Official. Go to that Facebook page and you will see it there, archived. And if you want to be with us tomorrow, that's Sunday, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Not 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Mecca. Not 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Egypt, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Holland, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Nigeria, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in South America. 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time in the USA, and New York is the state where I am. That's where we're going to be. So my suggestion for you is go to Facebook Live tomorrow. Matter of fact, you go there and sign up and be ready so that you can hear Islam and America, Islam in the 21st century, here and now on SKYviews, which are my views, tomorrow. Facebook Live. That's Sunday. I think it's the 13th. Is it? Is tomorrow the 13th? Sunday the 13th? Yeah, it's Sunday. I think the 13th. We'll be in New York on Facebook Live. That's Sky Views. Sheikh Khalid Yassin, yours truly, signing off. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.